College Football 25 is only a few months away in the game. At this point, it's probably mostly locked in with what it will feature, but there's still some things I'm hoping find their way into Dynasty Mode. You guys showed a lot of support for my last wish list video, and I really appreciate all that. So remember to hit the subscribe button to keep up with the channel, and hit the like button if you enjoy this video. So let's get into this list. Number one on this list is going to be improved Play the Moments. Play the Moments was a feature that was introduced in Madden 17 as a way to allow players who can't play full games to still experience key moments in a game and quickly get through a season. I'm going to assume this feature will make its way into College Football 25. It was actually a really nice addition to Madden at the time when there really weren't a lot of good additions to franchise mode, but in typical Madden EA fashion, this feature really hasn't been built upon since its introduction in 2016. It's remained exactly the same since Madden 17. As a feature, it works on a base level. It gets you what you're supposed to get to be, key moments. But more often than not, a lot of those moments it tries to get you to play either not actually that important or actually somewhat repetitive. Think constantly trying to get you to play defensive moments, like your defense needs your help, or kick field goals for some reason, like kick a field goal to reduce the lead. It's just things like that kind of over and over again. I would like to see a better variety in the moments, and honestly, if possible, I'd like to see maybe player milestones be given their own moments. Is your running back close to breaking the school record for rushing yards in a game? Let us get a drive to kind of try to get that moment. You know, I would say give us moments like that. I think things like that would be pretty cool. And, you know, again, not everyone has time to play a full game, and a lot of people probably are going to do, you know, play the moments, and it should probably work a little bit better than it does in Madden right now, I have to say, because right now in Madden, it works, but not as good as it should work, I think. So that's number one on the list, improved Play the Moments. So let's get into number two. Number two on this list is going to be nil and sponsorships. We've seen the explosion of nil and sponsorships in college football the past few years, and we've heard from various sources that nil and sponsorships will play a part in Dynasty Mode and College Football 25. One of my ideas would be for prospects or recruits to maybe have brand preferences, right? So if, let's say if you're a Nike school, if you're an Adidas school, if you're an Under Armour school, maybe certain prospects will be in a Nike pipeline, or be in the Adidas pipeline, or be in the Under Armour pipeline, right? So you kind of had state pipelines in recruiting before. Well, this will be kind of like brand pipelines where you would maybe get certain boosts on trying to get certain recruits, right? So I think that'd be something that'd be kind of interesting to add into a game, would add kind of another element of pipeline, I think. Another thing I would like to see, would be, you know, potentially, you know, there actually being like a ranking, right? So if you're like a lower tier Nike school, maybe the boost you get for Nike pipeline recruits would only be like a +2 in interest or something like that, as opposed to if you're an Alabama or if you're in Oregon, you get like a +25 immediately, right? You get a higher chance of them instant committing. I think things like that would be kind of cool and would honestly really add to the game a little bit. It would make kind of recruiting certain prospects a little more difficult, right? Like you can't get a guy because you're an Adidas school and, well, he prefers Nike. He's in the Nike pipeline, so it'll be a little bit tougher. Kind of just add that kind of, I think we'll just add another element of difficulty to recruiting, right? Because I think before it was a little too easy to kind of get all the recruits you wanted. I think just adding those little things, those little gameplay, you know, I don't know, so multipliers, but just adding those little things like that, I think that would just kind of add some difficulty to the game and kind of make it, I think, a little more realistic, because you don't always get all the prospects you want, no matter how hard you try. Sometimes you're just never going to get a guy, and I think that would be kind of an interesting thing to add into the game. So that is number two on the list. Let's get into number three now. Number three on the list is make use of the scenario engine. Remember the scenario engine introduced in Madden 20? Yeah, neither do I. But if college football has it, it should probably stand out from the version that's in Madden. Notice how a lot of these things are things that are in Madden, but maybe the NCAA team can add their own flavor to it, I think. Because I think that's kind of what we're going to see here. We're going to see, it is going to be similar to Madden, but I think this team is going to put their twist, their flair on it, and just kind of give us a different look at some of these things that maybe the Madden team never thought of. Well, I think if College Football 25 has it, it should definitely stand out. Now, we won't see legal issues put in the game, but that's kind of what you're thinking, right? You're not going to recreate Georgia football players drinking and driving and then leaving their teammates to die in fiery car crashes because you were street racing on some back roads in Georgia late at night. We're not going to have that in the game. We could probably have some harmless fun, like maybe your star defensive lineman not meeting academic standards, or maybe your star receiver was posting inappropriate things on social media, just little things like that. Granted, there is an issue with maybe the fact you won't be able to do some of this because, you know, there's real players, so maybe you could set it up to where, well, the scenario engine, where maybe start seeing these once you start getting those fictional players in the game. But I think things like that just be, again, really cool to add into the game. I feel like how you handle these things could also maybe contribute to how recruits view your school. Maybe some families won't be so trusting of you if you kind of just run a loose ship type of deal. You know, if you're kind of like Urban Meyer, kind of just letting kids do whatever they want, like murder people, you know, people are gonna be like, hey, I don't want my kid going to a school where a coach lets people murder people. That's like not cool. I don't want my kid murdering. Now, other things that in the scenario engine, man, that we could see in College Football 25 is like dev trade upgrades. I'm not sure if, again, I'm not sure if College Football is going to have the same like normal dev, star dev, superstar dev, X Factor. I don't know if that's going to be in this game. We haven't gotten the full reveal yet. I think we've heard X Factors will be in the game, but again, I'm not 100% sure. Who knows how they'll work, but we could see those sort of upgrades in here with the scenario engine, XP gains, milestones. Maybe we'll have the same thing where our head scout tells us, hey, we should recruit this player. Then you go and look at them. They're awful. You always get that one in Madden. I don't want to see that here. I just hope that if we do see this scenario engine in College Football 25, that we see it maybe a little more fleshed out than it's ever been in Madden. So that is number 3 on the list. Let's get into number 4 now. Number 4 on this list is going to be more robust staff options, or something I'd like to see in College Football 25. We were just starting to see this be a thing in NCAA 13 and 14 with hiring and upgrading offensive and defensive coordinators. We'd love to see those upgrade options not only return, but for them to be expanded upon in College Football 25, right? Maybe certain archetypes of coaches have completely different upgrade trees and paths compared to different archetypes of coaches. I like to see that added in. Maybe we have like 5 or 6 different archetypes of coaches and they all have their own unique upgrade trees. I think that'd be really cool to see. So no two staffs are really ever alike. I'd also like to see position coaches along with full medical and training staff. Think my staff in NBA 2K, but they actually have an effect on the gameplay and how you build your program going forward, as opposed to in 2K where they don't really have an effect. They're kind of just there for show, I think. Another thing that could be cool to have in the game would be for your players to possibly transfer when your staff gets coaching jobs elsewhere. You know, we know the transfer portal is going to be in the game. It's a very common thing that happen in college football. It should even be a thing that you, the user, does if you're playing just a coach dynasty and you're jumping from different schools to different jobs, right? If you're the offensive coordinator and you'd help recruit this backup quarterback who's really good, and you accept the job elsewhere, and that quarterback doesn't have a shot to start, that quarterback should maybe follow you to your next school if you promise them, hey, if you come here, you'll start, right? So I think that's something that I would like to see in the game. I also like to see these coaches have perks or abilities similar to players that would have multiple levels that affect things like XP gains, game boosts for certain position groups, or just attribute boosts for singular attributes across position groups. This is another thing that would, again, set schools and coaching staffs apart from one another so they just don't all feel the same. So I think that's something that's really important, kind of making this feel like a living, breathing world as opposed to just kind of static where everyone's just kind of the same. It's just really up to the rosters. Programs should feel different from each other, I think, apart from just their uniforms and stadiums, right? How they actually coach players and things like that should feel different. So that's something I'd like to see in this game. That was number 4. Let's get into number 5 on this list. Number 5, this is going to be short and sweet, but storming the field. This is something I'm positive has never been in a college football game before. I think for the series' long-awaited return, this would be a great feature to finally see in the game when you finally pull off that big upset, when you're really starting to turn your program around. You finally beat, depending on what program you take, when you finally beat a top 25 ranked team, that's when you should see, you know, your fans, if it's a home game for you, storm the field. I think that'd be really cool to see in the game. Again, super short, sweet, storming the field should be in the game. So that is number 5 on the list. Let's get into number 6. Number 6 on this list is going to be the ability to accept or decline bowl invites. This is pretty self-explanatory. I'd like to see some sort of prestige rating applied to each of the bowl games. That one, I'm pretty sure not all the bowl games are actually going to be in the game because they have to negotiate with each of them separately. But it should mean more to play in higher profile bowl games. So instead of accepting an invite to maybe the Myrtle Beach bowl game, we should have the option to maybe decline that if we have an invite to the Fiesta Bowl, right? We should have multiple bowl game invites, and we should maybe weigh, you know, which one do we want to accept, right? You know, it helps with program prestige if you play in higher profile bowl games. I have no clue if money is something we'll have to worry about in Dynasty Mode, with like if there's like staff system that we have to assign our staff, and no, I don't like, again, we don't know any of that stuff yet, but that could be a component to it as well. Maybe, you know, bigger bowl games pay you a little bit more, and that helps with your program. It helps with upgrades to your program, to your weight rooms and scouting and recruiting departments, things like that. I think that'd be really interesting. I know in real life, each conference receives around $6 million from the college football playoff for each team selected for a semifinal game, and $4 million for each team that plays in non-bowl games. So again, I don't know if you need to put that in the game or not, but yeah, maybe consider it. So that is number 6. Let's get into number 7 now. News menus is number 7 on this list. The former NCAA football series did a really good job of presenting news to you from around the college football world. And I hope College Football 25 does the same and even expands upon what the old NCAA games did. You know, if you remember, in the NCAA games, you could click onto the news menu to get all sorts of news from around. You were really connected to what was going on in the Dynasty, and that never really happened in Madden. You know, in franchise mode in Madden, it always feels like you're kind of walled off in your own little world. I think it's very important for College Football 25 Dynasty Mode to kind of avoid that feeling of isolation. News of your conference rivals should always be presented to you. You should always be aware of what's going on with schools in your conference, from their record, who's hot, who's not, injuries, players who may be considering transferring, just all sorts of things like that. Those sorts of things like that help make a Dynasty Mode feel alive, and it'll help them feel unique to the player. So got to get that in the game. I hope that's in there. That is number 7. Let's get into number 8 on this list now. Number 8 on this list is going to be full playoff customization. Remember, my last video I talked about conference customization, but I didn't touch on playoff customization, and the College Football Playoff recently approved the expansion to a 12-team playoff. Some people, myself included, feel that's maybe too much. I would like to see maybe, I think an 8-team playoff would have been perfect. So I kind of hope College Football 25 gives us the ability to kind of change the playoff format if you want. If you want 16, have 16. If you want to have 8, have 8. You want to go back to the original 4, go back to that. Hell, I would love it if you had the ability to even have maybe the old BCS bowl system if you want. Again, just kind of allow people to kind of have a dynasty and a playoff experience that they want to have however they want to have it. I think that'd be really interesting to see put into the game. So that is number 8 on the list, full playoff customization. Let's get into number 9 now. Number 9 on this list is going to be coach customization. This is something that was in the NCAA games of old, but it was pretty basic, outside of your name and a few generic faces. I talked about player faces in the previous wishlist video. We're talking about coach faces here because, again, this game isn't going to have any of the real coaches. I like to see full face customization in this part of the game. We're going to be looking at our coaches a lot over the course of a dynasty, so I actually think this is actually kind of important. And again, it would just be weird if there's only like maybe 40-50 coach faces in a game with 134 teams. I would say add the ability to edit coaches in the game. So again, there's going to be no real coaches, so the ability to maybe edit coaches' names would be interesting, but I just don't think that's going to happen in College Football 25, simply because them not being in the game yet is probably just a licensing thing where they just kind of ran out of different licensings to get. I do think we will eventually see real coaches in the college football series, so probably gonna not let us edit coaches' names. That'll probably be a 1-year thing, and then next year we'll be able to have actual real coaches in the game. Probably just want to avoid any legal issues. We don't want to have anyone getting sued here because someone edited Nick Saban into the game and he like sues EA for $1 bajillion. Don't need to see that happen. So, but yes, let us have full facial customization for our coaches, things like that. You know, I assume Road to Glory will have full face customization, so just kind of let us do the same for our coaches and things like that. So again, really simple one, number 9 on the list, full coach customization. Let our coaches look unique. Don't want to all look at the same coaches for an entire dynasty because, yeah, just don't want to. So that's number 9 on the list. Let's get into the 10th and final thing I want to see on College Football 25 Dynasty Mode. Improved home field advantages. In Madden 22, we kind of saw the return of the home field advantage system, where every stadium had some sort of advantage that would be enabled by the momentum of the home or away team. This idea was admirable, but the execution was just too poor and just too weird at times. Like players, you know, if the momentum was a certain progress on the momentum meter, well then players would drop passes because it was just weird to me. Like all players would not be able to catch on first down or something like that. Like just things like that are just too goofy for me, man. Like really, my players are going to drop passes because the other team hit a field goal. I don't really like that. In the NCAA football games, the home field advantages would be things that seem more in line with kind of like just real life, like the crowd would be loud, so maybe the offense would struggle to see their play assignments. Right, you would see the squiggly lines, things like that. Players would forget their assignments on offensive defense. The screen would shake. Maybe kickers would struggle a little bit more because of the, you know, stadium icing the kicker, things like that. I feel like these would be just better things to put in the game than whatever the Madden team tried to do with game day momentum. The strength of these advantages should be determined by the home field advantage rating, because before there would be a home field advantage ranking in the old NCAA game. So, and that would kind of determine the strength of the home field advantage of each home stadium. The strength of these advantages would be determined by that rating, and that rating can go up if, let's say, you're on a long home win streak, right? Or you're winning rivalry games at home. And it should probably go down by, you guess it, if you're losing a bunch of games at home, or people are just coming in, blowing you out constantly, well, then you probably don't have that good of a home field advantage. You know, I'd also like to see dynamic crowds be in this game. We know this isn't in Madden because the NFL is very anal about that sort of stuff, but with no NCAA backing, that shouldn't be too hard to kind of have, you know, fans leave if you're getting blown out, or, you know, for the stadium to be full, you know, when the game's really close, things like that. Just a really simple thing that's not that hard to have in the game, I don't think. So that is number 10 on the list. Improved home field advantage. So yeah, there is the list. There she blows. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to hit like, be sure to subscribe. What do you think of this list? What do you think I missed? And what are some things that you would like to see in NCAA, or not NCAA 25, College Football 25. I still want to call it NCAA 25, but it's not. It's College Football 25. So I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to hit like, be sure to hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.